So yeah,
Mrs. be like, "You always on vacation?" Like I'm not. I'm driving all the time.
right. I'm working like this last one. People was saying get some rest, and I'm like, the class started at 6 o'clock I mean 8 o'clock in the morning, and it's on the hour with little breaks in between, and you done probably about 9:30 at night, and you're doing that for 3 days. Now, where you get some rest at? that's not a trip for that. But yeah.
You said rest when you die, because you about to get pulled through. Oh my goodness, you can get pulled through all of this. Yeah, that's an old school military.
Okay.
Death by PowerPoint. You better not go to sleep.
Well, listen, I'm telling you that it is a powerful thing when we really begin to put the principles of financial increase in place. It's amazing. It's just an eye opener. I know for me, I think differently now. I think differently. I'm very more aware of what I'm spending. I'm making choices now. Some of them are difficult, but choices to wait, and not buy it right now or not do this right now. And so the financial principles that we've been learning and going over, doing Financial Fridays is actually impacting my life, and I thought I knew, and I did know a lot of generality when it comes to finances and things like that. You know what I mean? But now I'm really, kind of zero in now. I'm talking different. When I'm out with my wife, we find ourselves, looking for that discount or asking for that discount. I went in the store the other day and I grabbed something off the rack and I saw the price of it and it wasn't nothing to me. You know what I mean? I would have just bought it, but that Financial Friday kicked in, and I put it back on the rack, and I started going around and looking, and then we found the same thing practically for half the cost that was on clearance. Now I don't know what the difference was between the two because they look pretty much the same. Yeah. But any other time I wouldn't have done that. I would just grab what I wanted and just left out of the store. When we were at the airport, my wife asked the lady, she said the cost was, $25 or whatever. And she said, well, I only have 22. And then the lady did something and then said gave her another price that was under the 25. She said, I'm gonna give you a discount. You know what I mean? And it's just been crazy how we've been, seeing that. And as we was talking today, our biggest challenge is being accountable for the money that we're saving. Yeah. That we're making sure that we're conscious of that money showing up somewhere else on assignment. You know what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And so, listen, let's see who's out there. Welcome to another Financial Friday. I'm your host, Dr. A.D. Burns, and this is my co-host, the man with the money, the man with the plan. Yeah, the guru of finances. We're going to call him Dr. James Jones. Why don't you say hello to him today, James?
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing? And good evening to all my grinders.
Yeah, I was waiting to hear that. Good evening to all my grinders. I see Lady B online. How you doing, my love? She said, good evening, grinders. I have some grinder t-shirt designs to share with y'all. Okay. Shameless plug. And t-shirts is awesome, shirts and sweatshirts to wear because it reminds us like I like the one I have on today is it talks about praise. I don't know if you can see that when it say praise is my weapon,
Yeah.
And so I have different ones that remind me, as I go forth. I see Deacon Boone is on with us tonight. How you doing, Deacon? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so last week you guys had an awesome time. I miss you all, and I think Minister Brumfield was trying to steal my spot, you know. But because you guys were having a great time and you were covering a lot of material. You covered a lot of material last week on entrepreneur, and I really think that those who are on that actually is trying to do something, if they will take the information that they receive and apply it, they can see things happen exponentially. You know, a lot of times it takes a while for certain things to happen, but some of the information you all shared last week, if you would just take some of those simple things, because I remember in the beginning you said small adjustments, small adjustments. If you begin to apply that, those of you who are business owners, you know, it wouldn't take you long to get to a place where you have a sustainable income. Would you agree, James?
Yes, it doesn't. It doesn't take long to have once your mindset gets there, it doesn't take long to have a sustainable income.
Okay, and that's interesting that you said mindset, because I'm working on something for, you know, Sunday. We've been talking about resilience. We started resilience. It is probably going to take a couple of weeks for me to get through that whole piece on resilience. But one of the things that I was writing down this week was, the mindset. You have to have that mindset, and once you have that mindset, then you have to, your behavior have to follow that. You understand what I mean? Because you can say the right answer, but if your behavior is not lining up, if your corresponding action to what you say that you believe or what you say that you understand, if they're not lining up, then even though you may have the right answer in your mouth, you're not going to see the results show up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, what am I saying?
What you're saying is, what's the difference between a school teacher teaching accounting and a CPA? That school teacher may have a lot of books that they can read and tell you about it, but that CPA has actual mindset as well as experiences and life principles that they can go by to give you in-depth, on the spot, day-to-day, routine knowledge of what's going on.
I love that. That's going to live again. I'm putting that down. That's going to be one of my sermon examples right there. So that'll live again. Yeah, that's important. And I believe those of you who have been tuning in week after week, you have to start where you are, but you have to start, and you have to be purposeful. When you coming on these lives or you go back and watch these lives, you have to write down a couple of things that you're going to apply. You may not be able to take everything in the one session, and between now and the next Financial Friday, put those things in the action in your life, but be intentional about putting a couple of things every week that you're learning into action, those small adjustments. And even though it may seem like a long way to go or seem like a big picture of what you're trying to accomplish, that consistency, you'll be there before you know it. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Amen. So we got Minister Pfeiffer tuned in with us this evening. How you doing, Minister Pfeiffer? And Elder Perry on vacation is tuned in with us. And so, yeah, send us some of that weather. I don't know where you are, but send us some of that weather. I know it's warmer than here. Send us some of that weather, which it ain't bad here. We're in the 30s, so that's a good thing. That's a good thing. So, James, do you want to do any type of recap from last week, or do you want to just roll right into the our lesson for tonight?
Oh, no, I can always do a recap. I think so. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I think they are the innovators. So if you are an entrepreneur or you consider yourself to be an entrepreneur, remember, you are a financial innovator. You are the person laying the groundwork, understanding the actual footprint of what it takes to build an actual legacy. Entrepreneurs get the risk, they get all the reward. Entrepreneurs, they take all of the opportunities, as well as they are the ones who may suffer defeat. But to be a financial inventor is to be an entrepreneur. So with the best recap, I can tell you that I want everyone to have an entrepreneurial heart and to be able to take risk, not be afraid to losing, because if you're afraid to lose, you will. but try to always succeed, have your mindset ready to succeed, and be able to take on any challenges. That was the biggest recap of the entrepreneurs.
Now, why would you say don't be afraid to lose? Are you saying that most entrepreneurs fail because they are afraid to make a move?
Correct. So it's an old added tradition that we say in football, you say it in basketball, and in a lot of sports, we say this a lot. Play to win. Do not play not to lose. And unfortunately, some people get the mindset that they get started and they get a little adversity. So instead of playing to win, they become recluse. And now they're playing just not to lose what they have. But that's not the way they got started. That's not the way they're growing. That's not the way you could even obtain victory. Playing not to lose is the worst strategy to play off of. So
wait a minute. Hold up. So what does that look like when you say playing not to lose? What does that look like?
Oh, I can give you life experiences. I can give you regular examples.
Okay.
So typically, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur, and a business owner, or an investor. That's how everyone starts. All dreams start the same. Mm-hmm. They are bigger than just the person that's living currently. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to sell the world. So then they start that path. And the path looks good in the beginning. Okay. You hit a couple of milestones, you hit a couple of steps, mm-hmm. and then adversity hits where you run out of money, or you have to challenge yourself to learn a new way of thinking, mm-hmm. or you just run into a bad streak of time where the market change, or you tap out on your customer side. Mm-hmm. It's just adversity. Some people play not to lose. So they double down on just not spending enough. They double down on not knowing the market. They double down on where their section is, and they try to stay inside their section without growing and expanding.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a half a sec here. So you're saying this place where they stand, could that be considered a comfort zone?
Yes.
Okay, and so the victory, let's use the word victory. The victory is outside of your comfort zone. And when you plan to not lose, you never really come to the table, the winning table. You just stay in the shadows in a place where you're safe at.
Yes.
Wow.
It's like saying, oh, go ahead.
No, that's worth everything tonight. I mean, we didn't say nothing else because I think for the most part, a lot of people don't take the risk because it's overwhelming to them to lose, or even, to be wrong. And so instead of, stepping out and seeing what the end going to be, or seeing how much potential they actually have, and understanding that failing is a part of success. So is learning in those moments when we make choices that things don't come out the way that we want them to come out, versus being like a turtle and sticking our head back in the shell.
Yeah. Remember, your biggest wins are always breathtaking.
Okay.
Your biggest wins. If you climb Mount Everest, guess what? When you get to the top and you plant your flag, when you take that breath of victory, it is breathtaking.
Okay.
If I drive down to the beach and I just walk on some sand, mm-hmm. I may see a good view, but is it as breathtaking as the challenge that I took to get to the top of the mountain? No. Or let's say we was hiking. You took your car and you drove up the mountain. Me and some of my guys climbed the face of the mountain and we made it to the top. We both at the top of the mountain, and we're both taking in the sights. We're taking in the sights from the journey we took. You're taking in the sight from the point that you're at. Who in the long run will have a more breathtaking experience? Me and my friends who climbed the surface of the mountain and got to the top and we're looking at the finish line, mm-hmm. or the person who just drove up the side of the mountain and was like, look, it's easy.
Okay. Yeah.
Or now these are the people, that's the difference. Now, when you take a person who's trying not to lose, they don't take the challenge of listening, learning, and growing.
Okay.
Because that's the mindset that entrepreneurs must always be in. I hit a wall, so now I have to learn something else. I have to grow more. I have to expand myself. And sometimes people hit a wall, and instead of trying to grow, they just retreat.
Okay.
Because when you're playing not to lose, you're not really growing. You're just retreating slowly.
Okay. So once you get out there and things get hard, you know, you have to stay out there and adjust and adapt and do what all the different things, learn, listen, grow, and then as you keep going, you hit that place where you have victory. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
You take your best musicians, the most naturally gifted, talented, and what makes them better than the others?
Okay.
It's not just natural ability, because when you start the process, you're good. But when you become a legend, that means you have done the process through decades, through time. And that's through all the adversities, through all the tears, through all the hurt. You got on there and you did the same thing you was able to do consistently. And then you become a legend. Not just a superstar, not just an all-star, but every legend that could ever be in any sport is a person who played at a level higher than average for a length of time.
Right. So that's a good segue for tonight, because tonight we're talking about business ownership.
Yes.
Right? So what is the difference now between business ownership and entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a good one. We talked about that a lot between entrepreneurs and ownership. I'm going to talk about it even more again now, because I want people to be able to cross over from being an entrepreneur to being a business.
To being a business owner. All right. And so for those of you who did tune in on last week, you know that a lot of ground has been laid when it comes to being an entrepreneur. And then you understand that next that next step there he is. Like, you know, I thought it got heavy on him right there. I was getting ready to take it. You know, and so that next logical step from entrepreneurship is business ownership. And so James, talk to us about that tonight. So
if you're an entrepreneur or you're a business owner, the common areas is that there's a company or an entity. Commonly, you are both running that entity. Now, the difference is you start going into is, as an entrepreneur, you are an innovator. You are doing a lot more risk. You're taking a lot more opportunities, and you are driving that business to a point to do what it is called to do. Now, once you reach that point, the natural progression is to become a business owner. And I do talk heavily about this because as good as you are, if you can't duplicate yourself, you're an entrepreneur. If you can duplicate your system, you become a business owner. And those are the really big things that separate one from the other. There are a lot of people out there that are really good at what they do, and they are champions at what they do. The problem is when you have to groom and develop another person, or you have to groom and develop a whole system to support what you do. So when you pass on, another group is still doing that same system.
Okay. Now we can take that and then I know this might be a reach, but then you can say an entrepreneur is someone who has a business, but a business owner is somebody who can franchise.
Yes.
Yeah, they're able to reproduce, you know, what they're doing and have the processes and the things that it take. Now that's a very powerful statement, because that could be the difference between a millionaire and a billionaire, you know, or a thousandaire and a millionaire. You know,
it could be the difference between McDonald's, the Brothers Shop, and McDonald's present day.
Okay.
It was a dude named Ray Kroc.
Right.
He saw a burger joint by McDonald's. It was brothers. McDonald's was a group of brothers. They were entrepreneurs. They built the best burger you can see on one area. How good was they? They built a really good burger, but they didn't have the vision to go anywhere else. It was really good and it was local. A dude by the name of Ray Kroc saw it and said, I'm going to produce a system. Now, every city, even to include worldwide, every city in America has one, to include worldwide has a McDonald's.
Yeah.
What's the difference between McDonald's, the hamburger shop, or the billion McDonald's we see now? It's the system.
Yeah.
The entrepreneurs, the innovators, the trailblazers that made McDonald's what it is, they're not even listed as an owner, a franchisor. They're not listed. But why is that? And it's because when it came down to it, there was entrepreneurs who didn't see the system. Ray Kroc saw the system.
Yeah.
And he multiplied that system. And now, go ahead.
And we know that because I've been all over the country, and there's been some places that I've been in foreign countries where I wasn't sure about the food, but they had a McDonald's. And I went to the McDonald's and the food was the same as it was here. You understand what I mean? So that system is reproducing the exact same thing in each one of the locations. So you won't go over here and they decide they won't put hot sauce on their burger, and then you go over here and they decide they want, put some Gouda cheese on there. No, wherever you go, that system is being reproduced. And so then when we begin to expand our minds as a business owner, then we're not so engulfed and focused in on what we're doing locally as an entrepreneur as much as how can we take that now and make it manageable where I'm able to reproduce,
Correct.
Even to the degree that I reproduce. If I don't even do a franchise, if I reproduce to the degree that now I can step away from it and do something else, create some more wealth where that thing is still running.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Then you become a business owner.
Then you become a business owner.
Then you become a business owner.
We owning something now. Okay. Elder Perry is rubbing it in our face. I said send us some weather, but you ain't have to tell us, that you're sailing in the ocean by Aruba and the weather. He didn't even get a temperature. He just said it was hot. Enjoy yourself, Elder. Enjoy yourself. Listen, so let's talk a little bit more about that. So how can you help us tonight when it comes to being able to develop that business owner mindset, that business owner mentality, so that we're able to continue to tap into wealth at a whole higher level? Because a business owner is able to tap in at a whole higher level because they can even sell their systems.
Yes.
And so it's so much. When I hear that what you just said, what the difference, my mind is like, wow, I can see a lot of different things in that. So talk to us about being a business owner.
Okay. So, here we go right here. Okay. So we all know we at Rise and Thrive. We always want to kick it to where we are. We at Rise and Thrive.
That's right. Because we want you to rise, not just get up, but we want you to thrive. That's right.
Okay. This is you and I. We're both hosting it. You're hosting it, and I'm here to help.
You co-host. We both hosting.
Oh yeah, right. I say co-host. Now, right. Just like I said before, every employee wants to be an entrepreneur. Every entrepreneur eventually wants to be a business owner. Every business owner wants to be an investor. So right now, we're going to focus in on our business owners.
Okay.
And those are our financial systems.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about who's a business owner, the difference between an entrepreneur and a business owner, and we're going to go into depth. People can ask tons of questions. why are business owners a financial system, how to achieve this, and what's the next step for every business owner.
Okay.
So the next step for every entrepreneur is to become a business owner.
Mm-hmm.
There are some commonalities, but I will go more into that.
Okay.
Okay. First, we'll talk about just who is a business owner. There we go. Okay. So typically a business owner is a person who, now remember, business owners and entrepreneurs have a lot of commonality. So when we talk about somebody was a senior executive assistant, somebody was a coach, somebody was a musician, singer, songwriter, and he could play chess, right? And these are, and we have a lot of business owners out there. And some people use the words interchangeably as entrepreneur and business owner, but there are some differences. But the biggest thing about business owners is, one, they own businesses. They are decision makers, which means that they are the ones who make decisions, which are also similar to entrepreneurship. They take a lot of risk and responsibilities in developing and growing the business, as well as developing and growing the system. That's the difference between entrepreneurs versus business owners. Entrepreneurs develop a system. Entrepreneurs develop the business. Business owners develop the business system. And that's the system that will reproduce.
Okay.
Also, most business owners are profit motivated, which means their primary motivation is for owning and operating a business to generate a good profit. Business owners typically aim at the value of the market and the returns on their investment. As the roles and responsibilities, when it comes to entrepreneurship, all business owners should have a bit of entrepreneurship in them so they can take risk and fulfill that role that's necessary in adopting and providing for the business. And business owners are big on roles and responsibilities of establishing who, what, where, when, why, and how. As an entrepreneur, you are the face, you are the go-to, you are the legal, you are the recommendation, you are the personality. As a business owner, you may be one, but you're not all. You have a person who is your manager. You have a person who understands your finances. You have a person who can understand the different roles and responsibilities. You have a person who can do HR. Because remember, the idea of a business owner is to set up systems and put them all in place so everybody can get moving. And that's the best way to always be able to duplicate your system. Also, business owners exercise many exit strategies. Often in the military, we go off a thing called PACE. What's your primary plan, your alternate plan, your contingency plan, and your exit plan? By being a business owner, you always want to talk about your first and second options, your third options, and what is your exit options. Because at the end of the day, if you face adversity, you want to have options to overcome all adversities. Business owners are the ones who are typically putting all those options together and making them happen. Did I get it? Yeah, there you go. Okay. All right. Any questions before I continue?
Now that almost sounds overwhelming when it comes to being a business owner. And is that like a certain skill set? You know, now I can see certain people with that type of mindset when it comes to the things you described as a business owner.
Yes.
So is that a learned behavior, or is that something, you know, a person have to go to school for, or how do they get to the place, you know, especially when you looking at, you just started your business,
yeah,
and your business hasn't really produced what you wanted to produce. And so is there a certain timing that I begin to shift my focus now to becoming a business owner? And then is there a certain education that I need, or how do I make that transition?
Okay. The easiest way for me to tell you is once you stabilize your company. So instead of saying, hey, I can do multiples of this, unless you're buying a franchise, which has a proven business solution, if you're going at it by yourself and you're an entrepreneur, you need to make sure your ducks are in a row before attempting to move to a business owner. That means if you're doing a cleaning service, make sure you have your employees listed, you have your taxes or your accountant or your CPA available. Make sure that you have the legal ramifications and legal assistance already there. These pieces are already in place. So then when you go to another city or another part of the city, you can duplicate what you're doing. So as an entrepreneur, it's not just let me see how far I can go. It's when you're able to duplicate that in what you're doing. So if you was to take yourself and say, I am good, that's great. But you yourself is still an entrepreneur. If you're an entrepreneur with employees, excuse me, you're still just an entrepreneur with employees. Until you can start duplicating what you're doing, then that's when you become a business owner.
Okay. So is it safe to say that as an entrepreneur, it's very important to keep accurate records, and it's very important to, develop, with your job descriptions and things of that sort, to document those things, to begin to build you some type of portfolio that you can use to, as a foundation for designing your business systems.
Yes. So the reason why entrepreneurs are considered the most volatile, right? Because some of them go out of business, some of them explode, some of them get bought out or get adopted or merged into a bigger operating system, or a big business buys them. And the reason why that happens is that if you have a really good product and you're in the market of another big business, they may just buy you out. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to become a business owner, documentation is key. The benefit to an entrepreneur is that you can always, or it's very easy to change the way the flow works. As a business owner, remember, you're reproducing that model. So to change that one model means you're changing that one model for all your other systems and all the other entities that you are now adopting that same system. It's a lot harder to change things. It's like bureaucracy. I think I said that. As you change one thing, you must change it in every system. So as a business owner, it's harder to change a system that is working. As an entrepreneur, you're getting the system perfected. So it's a lot easier to change, like the way we ship things, our logistical, transportational, or the way in which things are delivered. All those things can be changed a lot easier and quicker as an entrepreneur. So as an entrepreneur, you want to focus on what's the best way for us to ship items? What is the best way for us to keep track of logistical means of how we do things, right? Because that's the time that it's like before you are on the spotlight, you do everything behind closed doors. Before you got to teach somebody else your system, get the kinks out of it. That's what the entrepreneur is doing. So who do I use for my taxes? Get those kinks out as an entrepreneur. How do we handle disputes? How do we handle claims? Get all of that out of the system. So when you transfer over as a business system, you have a lot more of those errors that happen that could topple your company.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, we got Dr. Bonds is tuned in with us tonight. How you doing, Dr. Bonds? And Latrita is also tuned in with us tonight. Deacon Boone, he has a question. What do you mean by duplicating yourself? When you talk about duplicating yourself.
So as you become an entrepreneur, as you move from entrepreneurship to being a business owner, when I say duplicate yourself, I do mean if you was to do something different, would your company still run? If the answer is no, then that means you have not properly duplicated yourself. I don't mean clone yourself and go at it that way, because I'll be joking. What I mean by that is, can somebody come up and step in your shoes and run your system? If you have a system, then that means when I step away, I can hire an employee to run that system. It's like if I had a sales team. If I was to step away, my sales team can still run and manage selling products.
Mm-hmm.
If I have a security service, I can step away and somebody is still selling that security service. They still have a supervisor in play that can make sure everyone is showing up on time. It's a management or a director in place to make sure that the supervisors are doing what they're supposed to do, that the products are being shipped out, and that the end product is reaching the same level of competency that it was reaching when I was there. So duplicating yourself is just a term used to make sure that the company is doing what it's doing while you're away. Okay. If that can't happen, then you don't have if it doesn't happen, then you as the entrepreneur come back in, you straighten everything out, you reteach. So you're teaching the employee. So as an entrepreneur, you have the benefit of this. So now you're teaching your employee how you want it done. You're teaching your supervisors, how do you want them to oversee the employee? You're teaching your management staff, how do you train the next supervisor who will oversee the next employees? If you get big enough, now you have directors. You're training your director and or manager on how the next operation of the company looks, the oversight of the companies. And then they will trickle that down to your managers, to your supervisors, to your employees. And therefore the system is running properly.
Okay. Now that's good. He said he got it on that. And I think that is important to help people to understand. You have to start. I heard Dr. Bond say this once. You have to start at start. And so that's very important, because once your business begins to grow, if you have not done that, it can be chaotic. And I know I've seen that happen with the church. You know, we had this group of people that was trained, that I had invested a lot of time into, and then almost at the same time, they all relocated different places. And because I didn't have another group trained to step in, I end up taking on a whole bunch of things myself. And so now, in order for me to be able to move forward, I have to now stop and go back and document each one of those steps in those different areas in order to be able to hand that off. And so with a business, while you yourself and I, you know what I mean, you just starting out, is a perfect time to make sure you document, everything, when do you buy gas if you got equipment, or when do you stock up, your supplies, or different things that you look at how your business is going and documenting them things, because when you order it, where you order it from, when you take the calls and so forth and so on. But as you begin to document them things, as you grow, then you'll be able to hand those things off and it will be smooth. Am I saying that right?
Yes, you are. You're saying it right.
All right. Okay.
And I'll just chime in a little bit. So as an entrepreneur, this is where an entrepreneur is different from the business owner. So let's say you have a business. As a business owner, you're looking at your management team to correct and train the employees, because you are managing a system. As an entrepreneur, you may just take it upon yourself and say, hey, that employee isn't doing something that I know I can do. So now you're back on the grindstone. If the person is answering a phone call, you as the entrepreneur may actually get in and say, hey, employees, look at me. This is how I want you to answer all phone calls. You're not leaving it to any of their supervisors to train them. You are actually hands-on training them. Hey, when you answer this phone call, I want you standing up and I want you smiling when you say hi.
Okay.
You're doing a physical, this is what I want. As a business owner, you're not doing that. You're telling your management team, hey, when I saw this, this is not the standard. Because remember, as a business owner, you're running a system.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I hired you to do what I told you. This is what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that person, after getting chewed up, is going to go down the line and make sure, or try to make sure, that that doesn't happen again at the end of the line.
Okay.
So your employee is going to feel the wrath that you had, versus as an entrepreneur, you need that employee to do what they need to do. That's one of the reasons why, as an entrepreneur, you're working out the kinks. So now, as the business progresses, the entrepreneur comes downstairs. He greets his sales team. He knows everybody. That's the reason why most entrepreneurs are very intimate with their employees. They know their employees. They know that they got 5 kids. They know they got 2 kids. They know that they are married. They know they're not married. They know they had car problems, because as an entrepreneur, you have that relationship that you can build in. So now you know who your best supervisors are. You know who your bad supervisors are, but you're trying to bring everybody in, because as an entrepreneur, this is your only baby, and you're really trying to nurse it to get all those things in line. As a business owner, this is my system. My system works. Let me see what is not working in my system. These are pieces in a machine, versus this is my family. To make it doesn't always go like that, but typically as a business owner, you're looking for making sure the machine is always functioning, or the system is functioning the way it's supposed to be. Now, there's people inside your system that are supposed to be loving and kind, but that's not necessarily the business owner. The entrepreneur, they're dedicated to making sure all levels of their company is flourishing and doing what is told to them to do. So that's one of the bigger differences to entrepreneur to business owner, is that entrepreneurs are hands-on, business owners are systems ready.
Okay.
That's the big difference.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, let's go on a little further. I don't see any other questions in there. So let's talk a little bit more about this whole idea of entrepreneur versus business owner as we look at the business owner.
Okay. So why do business owners create? Why do business owners create financial systems? And it goes back to the reason why do entrepreneurs typically become business owners if they don't get bought out or if they don't collapse? It's because once you are able to duplicate yourself over time, you now have a financial system. You have a system that works. Your system that works produces money here. Your system that works over here is now producing finance or revenue here. That is creating a financial system. One thing that was told to me a long time ago was that you want to have multiple streams of income. If you do this successfully, if entrepreneurs are able to duplicate themselves successfully, so 1 becomes 2 becomes infinite, right? Because that's how McDonald's became 1, became 2, now it's billions, because they are able to duplicate themselves in a very systematic format. That's the reason why business owners create financial systems, because the goal is not necessarily to create new items. The goal is to replicate the system that you're performing. By doing that, you create a financial system, and that financial system allows you to increase your finances more effectively, reduce your waste, and you can implement a lot better at budgeting, accounting, and financial reporting. If you want to get bigger, if you want to get bigger and become an LLC, become bigger than an LLC, like an S Corp or a C Corporation, now you have the ability to attract more stock owners and more advisors, and you can allow better decision flow. With all of that, now you can hire more qualified employees, more qualified accountants, more qualified managers, more qualified other creators, and you can also hire or buy out other entrepreneurs and their businesses.
Okay. And so in essence, you said it all starts with, you know, being able to document everything, you know, and then be able to set up a system.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Once you set up a system that you know works, then you are a very efficient entrepreneur. Once you set up a system that you can duplicate or one that can run without you being there, now you become a business owner. Because if I have one system that's running and that one system is producing an income, I have time. If I'm over here and I'm got one company that's producing an income and it's a system that works. So this is how our customers comes in. These are our target customers. These are our benefits. These are our supervisors. These are our employees. And then you leave and the system works. You now have time to come over here and replicate that same system. That's how you know that you're a business owner.
Okay.
If you go to other places and you can't replicate your system, or your system has to take drastic changes, then that means you want to go to the drawing board and redo it. It doesn't mean the first system isn't working. It just means when you step into a new environment, you may have to modify that system.
Okay. That's very good. That's very good. Let's see. I'm taking some notes here. Let's see. If we got anything in the chat there. I don't see anything in the chat.
Okay.
And so let's continue to keep on pushing.
Okay. So the big things about why you want to create financial systems. The other benefit about being able to create a financial system is one of the things in which I talked about. Your business can expand faster. So if you're an employee, if you're an entrepreneur and you're always going through the ups and downs of not having things in order. So like Pastor said, write stuff down allows you to keep things in order. When you become a business owner, you know how much it costs. If I was a paper mill factory, I know how much it costs to produce paper. I know how much it costs to print paper. I know about how much it will cost to set up a shop, a business, and I know how much it will cost to have a supervisor and employees. I know that because I have a fully operating company. When I become a business owner, I can set that same shop up in another area, and the only difference will be the taxes. I know about approximately how much each employee is going to cost, what it's going to do for the management team, how much the paper is coming in, and I can replicate the first business to the second business. And by that, I'm producing two sets of income. And then I can go to another area and replicate the same system. So that's why being a business owner allows you to greatly reduce your waste and also increase your profit margins because a lot of the kinks are already worked out, which allows you to expand your business more.
Okay, and so, you know, you sound like you're zero in on this idea of creating systems. That systems helps you when it comes to being efficient, and that you don't have waste because you have a proven system. And then you saying with that proven system, it can put you in a position to increase your finances because you could take and duplicate your systems.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
It's like as good as your mom and pop ice cream parlor is. Think of a really good Milwaukee mom and pop ice cream parlor. It is really nice. It tastes nice. It looks nice. It's good for the local environment. But then take your Kops or your frozen custard. They hire more people, and they are still local people that these companies hire, but they're not mom and pop stores. They're an actual franchise. It's a business that people can buy into, and they produce more. But why do they produce more than mom and pop? A bunch of reasons. One, buying in volume. They have the ability to buy more because they have different systems out there, which allows them to buy more.
Okay.
Like how we was talking about earlier when I said buying in bulk saves you money.
Right.
Well, mom and pop is buying, if it was an ice cream store, they're buying 13 gallons of a different flavor. The industry or Kops is buying 100 gallons of the same flavor in multiple flavors. If I was a distributor, who would I give my bonus to? Right. The ones buying 13 or the ones buying 100?
100.
The one buying 100. And it will happen every single day consistently. So we got to make sure that as we are doing this, even though I do love mom and pop ice cream parlors, Kops have a more efficient system, and that more efficient system allows them to buy more at a reduced rate. It's like shopping at Costco, and some people are shopping at Walgreens. We can buy the same item, but I'm gonna get more. I'm gonna get more items, and my cost per item is gonna be significantly less than yours.
Right. All right. And so, with the system, you are able to look and see where it is, not only where you're going, but what your needs are. And so, because you know you're going to need for the next 6 weeks X amount of whatever, instead of just buying them every week, with a system, you can purchase your 6 weeks worth and get them down at a discount, and you'll still be making the same amount of money per whichever one, your item, your product is, but you will cut back on, you'll get it at a discount, then you don't have to keep running to go pick it up. And so you got a lot of different other savings that happens when you work a system versus just going to, an individual, just to get one thing one at a time.
Yes.
Right? Okay. Mr. Effort, I know he can appreciate that in his transportation business. And he says that that's good, because that's kind of what he does, And so with that system for him, he can increase his profit margin, by working the system, versus, doing on demand type of thing.
Correct. Yes.
All right. Okay. He says systems minimize overhead. Systems minimize overhead. All right. All right. All right. Somebody out there with you, James.
I am glad.
And it's good information, and it could be somewhat overwhelming for the average entrepreneur because they haven't gotten their business off the ground to the degree that they feel like they can begin to look at business ownership. But if you're really listening to what we're saying, it starts at the entrepreneur level.
Yes,
and when you apply your systems at that level, then not only are you setting yourself up for the business owner, but you are increasing your profit margin at that level, your efficiency. As Jericho, we call it E3. Now the excellent part is on you, but when it comes to being efficient, that part, by having a system, it changes the game. You know what I mean? Because I can look at that in all different types of venues as far as what different things that you need. If you look and see what it is that the most thing that you sell or whatever, and buying that in a bulk, the money that you're saving, I'm saying it starts right there, and Dr. Bond said, she's agreeing. She said, that's right. And so it's important that, as you talked about earlier, coming out of that comfort zone, and being willing to take that risk is also important for us to begin to open up our minds and try to grasp, some more knowledge, so that, because you said it was three things. You said it was on the journey. You said it was listening. You said it was learning, and you said it was growing.
Yes.
All right. And so it's important that, because you're listening now, but it's important that you open your mind up to try to grasp this and try to put it where you are. So then you'll be learning. And as you apply it to what you're doing, you'll be growing.
Yes.
All right. Let's go a little further.
That's great news. Great
All
news. Right. Now, the thing is, how do we achieve this? Now, the picture is just a bunch of cells.
Okay.
And when people look at a cell, some people think a cell is a single item, but it's not. Inside of a cell replicates itself, and now you have two. But now those two replicate themselves, and then you got four. So when four replicate itself, how many you think we got? Now we got 8. And then 8 replicates itself is now 16. That multiplication is so fast that some people don't understand why businesses are more successful than mom and pops. And that's the reason why. Once a system is understood, so as an entrepreneur, all the risk taking can pay off if you understand, how did I get here? How did I get there? What do I have to do in order to do this all over again? It's like teaching your kids. You get one good kid, we're going to replicate what we did. All right, let's get another good kid. All right, good. We got another kid. We're going to replicate a third kid, right? We're replicating our value system. We're not changing who the kid is. We're replicating our value system, our structure, our learning, who our God is. How do you pray to God, right? We're replicating this consistently. And then what happens when you train up a child in the way in which they should go? When they get old, they will come right back to where they started. And that's the thing, the same thing we do with a cell. When a cell starts growing, it grows a lot faster than we can ever imagine or think. The same thing is true with your entrepreneurship. The same thing is true with business owners. As you're an entrepreneur, do what the pastor is telling you to do. Write everything down. It sounds small, but when you teach somebody, they don't have your mind when you teach them. They will have the sheet of paper you wrote down. These are my notes. This is the contractor I use. This is why I use this contractor. So when you're not there and a problem arose, they know who to call and they know why to call this person, because the why the why gives them the intent. Why do we call this person? Okay, because he's Black owned and Black operated. Cool. So if I can't get this guy, guess what his intent is? Call another Black owned, Black operated company. All right, cool. Why do we use this guy? We use this guy because he's a national company that can affect us in any city. That's your intent. That's the why. Okay, so if he's not available, who else we go to? We go to another company that can affect us nationally because they're a nationwide company. So it's not just what you do, it's why you're doing it. Once you get these principles down, and I do mean down, like not just written, but I mean you went through your own system and you made sure it works. So now you can replicate that system. So now you got 4 different systems. Who I'm using, why am I using? Go somewhere else. Who am I using? Why am I using? Go somewhere else. Who am I using? Why am I using? Go somewhere else. Who am I using? Why am I using? So now you got these small areas that are now reproducing the same thing over and over again. And that's how you achieve being a proper business owner.
Okay. And even though it sounds, challenging or, somewhat overwhelming, it's really simple.
Yes.
Because what you're really saying is, you document, what you're doing, and you you look at the pattern of it, you know, every 5 weeks I'm buying this, or every, 3 days I'm getting gas, or every, whatever. And then now you documenting that, and then you looking at um, those patterns, and then you create a system where instead of you doing it because you have to do it, now you're doing it intentionally because you know this is coming up. So instead of you waiting till you have to do it because you have you documented it and you looked at it and you see the pattern of it, now this is coming up. So even like on a Black Friday sale or different times when things are, on sale at a great price, because every price, because it say Black Friday don't mean that it's a good price. But I'm saying because you know what you need and where you're going, you could begin to produce things ahead of time for those times. And in essence, it's like these small, different little cells that's beginning to reproduce themselves. And so now you're not at a place when, oh, you forgot and now your back is against the wall. Now you got to pay more for it, because you didn't acknowledge your pattern, because you do it every time. I hear Dr. Bonds used to say, I think either the anniversary come the same time every year, or stretch day is the same time every month. You know what I mean? Because people stretch day will come and they'll be like, "Oh man, I didn't realize it," and so here I'm just gonna give you, $10 because that's what I got in my pocket. But it comes the same time every month. But if you're not acknowledging the pattern of it, you can never prepare for
it. Yeah,
you know what I mean. All right.
That's a good way to put it.
All right.
It's like, why do you go grocery shopping? Because we need food. Mm-hmm. Are you sure you need food? Yes, I'm sure I need food. Do you need food every day? Well, mostly I need food every day. Then why don't we plan on going grocery shopping? Why don't we plan on grabbing all the sugary stuff that we're going to buy when we go grocery shopping? Plan for it. Write it down and say, I'm buying 2 packs of cookies. Hopefully I can get them on sale, and then I'm gonna get some chips, and then you get all the real stuff that you need for to live, right? You give all the real groceries, right? But you're planning for your snacks. Mm-hmm. Now I know there's a coupon. If I buy one, I get one free. Why? Because I'm planning for it. I didn't just walk in and was like, oh, I need some cookies, right? And impulse buy. No, I'm planning to buy cookies. It's right here. It's on my list. I'm buying cookies. Right. I got a coupon that says if I buy one, I get one for free. Well, now I bought 2 cookies. Why? Because the plan was to buy cookies. Mm-hmm. I just bought something that hit my goal. Yeah. I'm going to buy me some chips. So let me research. Now I got another coupon to buy these chips. Mm-hmm. If I buy 3 of them, I get them for $2.59 versus 1 bag for $5. Mm-hmm. I'm saving money here. Right. And now you're happy because you're doing what you wanted to do, but you're assigning a financial understanding to it. Mm-hmm. So now when you go out and buy stuff, now you're not guilty for buying stuff. It wasn't impulse buying. No, you less likely to impulse buy when you already got the sugary stuff in your cart. Right. You get any kid that's with any of their parents, try this for them. When y'all get to the grocery store, tell your kids, I need 2 packs of Oreos. Let's see how fast you can get the Oreos, right? They'll get the Oreos for you. Or y'all can walk there as a family and you can pick out the best priced Oreos that will fit what you got going on. Mm-hmm. Once that has happened, no one is arguing about getting Snickers. We got the Oreos. We can see them. We gonna eat a couple of them when we get to the car. Don't worry, y'all. We eat these when we get to the car. No one argues about more stuff. Right. Can we get some milk? No, we got these Oreos. We're gonna eat when we hit the car. You are reducing your stress because everybody know we getting Oreos. Mm-hmm. You're reducing your financial concern because it's not impulsively bought. No, it's on our list to buy Oreos. Yeah. Once we get into those simpler things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I say simpler because everything is practice until you know that you're always doing it.
Okay.
When we start always assigning our money, when we start always writing lists down and getting what we want on our list, right? When we start making these purchases that may seem to people who don't know us, it may seem like it's an improvised thing or on the fly. But if we're already listed to do these things, excuse me, then it's a regular routine that we do. Similar to a business owner, to a entrepreneur. They're living on the fly. They go into the store, they may buy some chips, they may not buy chips. The business owner is saying, this is the system. We got a lot of sugary eating people in our family. We're going to buy some Fruit Loops. We're going to buy some cornflakes. Let's see what's on sale. The system that they have implemented will reduce the cost of those Fruit Loops, will reduce the cost of those Frosted Flakes. It will also reduce the cost of those cookies. The entrepreneur is still going through the motions. They're still buying a lot of impulse stuff. And eventually they're going to realize, I could just buy that at Sam's Club. 15, I could buy 15 of those for $1 less per bag. And once they learn, right? It's all about learning. Once they learn, right? They've been told that they can do it. They learn they can do it, and then they go out and do it. You're less likely to spend $300 when you can spend $200 and get all the same stuff.
Yeah.
The same thing is true for entrepreneurs versus business owners. Remember, an entrepreneur is working out the kinks. The business owners are performing without kinks or minimize kinks.
Yeah.
So that's the difference that it will be from a entrepreneur to a business owner.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that's not even to mention the amount of time that you're saving by not going to the store every day, the gas that you're saving by not going to the store every day, the frustration, that you don't go through going to the store every day, when you can just take a time out to plan and look at your pattern, and then you could begin, to buy things, like you said, you can look at coupons and different things. You more intentional. Mr. Efren, when we talked about listening, learning, and growing, he tried to have that pastor in him. He said he wanted them all to start with an L. So he said listening, learning, and leveling. So I don't know. We have to work on that one. Leveling, learning, leveling up, learning. All right, we'll get back to that one on him. Dr. Bond said that summer comes every year. That's the term that she uses. Summer comes every year. And so, at church, a lot of times, we know when the summer comes, our finances is down. But we don't always look ahead, and we just end up in the summer, and then we end up in financial challenge, even though we know summer comes every year. So we have to prepare for it, as a business owner versus reacting as a entrepreneur. Yeah, see how I set up.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's
our time is going fast tonight. Let's see if we go a little further. Let me see if we got any questions in there. No, I don't see any questions in there. I hope you all are getting this. It's definitely increasing my understanding, and I pray that it's also impacted your life the same way or in a similar way. So let's go a little further.
Okay. And this is the second to last slide. So people often ask, what is the next step? Well, when you become a business owner, you are the king or queen of your domain. You are the head honcho. You are the person who your next step as a business owner is to look out and see where you can next affect a situation.
Yeah.
The reason why there's a lot of dollars behind you, because every dollar is what a single employee brings in. And some companies don't look at it as employees as dollars. But most corporations, there's a dollar attachment to everybody. It's $1 attachment to every employee. It's $1 attachment to every volunteer. There's $1 attachment to all of your managers, even to your executive staff. There's always $1 attachment to every person. I say that to say this. The dollar attachment could either be money coming to you or money coming away from you. But there is an actual dollar attachment. As much as we love people, a volunteer is your best dollar attachment. They're working for free or gaining experience. And in replace of that, they are producing a product or service that is benefiting the company. Also, having longevity in a company is your best dollar saver. They already know the rules. They already know what is expected. And if they're there long enough, they have benefited from the company as well as been a great benefit to the company. Because the turnover rate, if your turnover rate is high, most of your new employees are not actually benefiting the company in the beginning because they have to learn the system.
Okay.
All of your older employees know the system. They come to work, they work the system, they go home, they come back to work again, they work the system. So as a business owner, your next step is to continue to produce the same system that is bringing in the money.
Okay.
I do have one caution. Do it with integrity. Oftentimes, inside of this capitalistic society, we often lose integrity for the sake of dollars.
Yeah.
So I must always caution people, because when you do reach a threshold and you are making 6 or 7 figures, sometimes people lose themselves in just gaining money, and they lose the identity of why they started in the first place. And it's not to overthrow anybody. It is to be a help to those around you.
Yeah, no, that's something that's, widespread, if you will, when it comes to the whole idea of integrity, because people, they do lose integrity, and I think a lot of times money multiply who they are, and so a lot of times when people start gaining a lot of increase, they have a tendency of changing, and sometimes the changes that they're make are character changes, and it borderlines on, if not integrity, because integrity is being honest, being truthful. Integrity is, being, what your word, when you give your word on something, or being able, to make sure that, the Bible talks about, as believers, that we ought to stay away from even the appearance of evil. And so sometimes when things don't appear the way they're supposed to be, it's very important that we, within our power, to make sure that we clear that up, that it doesn't become an integrity issue. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of times money magnifies who a person is. And so it was already like that. They just didn't have no money. And then so they go from being confident to being arrogant, And so I would also say with what you just said, that we want to be very careful that we maintain our integrity, and so I try to make sure that I'm consistent as who I am, that I'm not a wishy-washy person, that, and it takes work to do that. You know what I mean? And so make sure, as you guys begin to grow your business, as you become entrepreneurs, and as you move to business owners, that you don't allow, y'all excuse my voice, that you don't allow yourself to begin to think more highly of yourself than you should. because in a breath it can all be gone. Our health, somebody, God forbid, I was just Lady Burns and I just got news that some pastors that we know that his wife just passed, and I think she was in her 50s or something. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, you never know. So you want to make sure that you don't become this whoever. So integrity is important. We only got a couple slides to do. Let's see if we can get through our lesson for tonight.
Okay. So
now Dr. Barnes says that's good, Pastor. I'm so true. Thank you, Dr. Barnes. I needed to hear that because James just left me hanging out there, and
I was
agree. I felt like I was treading water by myself.
No, Pastor, you was good. Hey, if you bring the good stuff, I'm gonna sit back and listen. I can take
okay, all right.
Yeah, I need that. I need what he just said. I need that.
Yeah, it's about being faithful over the little things, and God makes us ruler over the much, and so don't cut yourself short because of you might be in a better place than you were, but you certainly is not where God wants you to be, because he said eyes have not seen, ears have not heard, nor have it entered into the hearts of men what good things he had prepared for those who love him. So even at our highest vision of ourselves, God wants to do much more than that for us. He said exceedingly and abundantly above all that we can ask or even think. And so don't sell yourself short, don't sell yourself short, and it's not worth that. It's not worth mistreating people, is lying and conniving and things of that sort. When we talk about integrity, it's not worth it. Stay true to who you are. And the Bible said, fret not yourself because of evildoers. And so, you stay focused, don't allow another person, and I'm not saying that we're flesh and blood. So whoever said sticks and stones shall break my bones, but words will never hurt you, that's not a true statement, because words do hurt. And so just be careful to guard your heart is all I'm saying, and let God take you to that exceedingly abundantly above all, and don't allow people or your thoughts of yourself to get to a place where you stunt what God wants to do in your life.
Yes, Pastor. Just to double back.
Okay.
Now, as an entrepreneur, you have the ability to correct a lot of this a lot faster than as a business owner. As an entrepreneur, you could probably fire people same day for not adopting to your system methods. I don't advise on it, but there are people out there that says, if you won't stand up and smile, don't come to work. If you're not happy, don't come to work. As an entrepreneur, you can do that. You can make that a rule, that a system. As a business owner, you got multiple entities that are doing this. So it's very hard to go in and clean out a whole entity and then replace it with new people. Mm-hmm. As an entrepreneur, you have this is where the risk comes in. You're risking what you have to root out the weeds. Mm-hmm. Because when you're a system owner, you're just managing a system. As an entrepreneur, you're in the weeds. Hey, I don't like this person's attitude that they come to work in. And they may disagree, they may agree. You can say, from now on, this is what I want. I want everyone to come to work ready to work. If you don't come to work on the time you are scheduled to work, not get here, but you will be working. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're working at 9. You're not punching in at 9. You're working at 9. Those are the differences that I find that an entrepreneur can do that a business owner, after the structure is made. So after you have a bunch of different organizations, it's harder to say, hey guys, we're gonna implement new rules, because the ramifications of that legally could hinder you greatly from doing that. Whereas an entrepreneur, you're the risk taker. Hey, guess what? I'm willing to sacrifice that one good employee to set the example. This is what I want you to do. I want all my managers to be able to do this, right? All my managers have to be able to lift 70 pounds. Otherwise, just get out, because you're setting the standard, you're making the rules. And with that, you're also setting the integrity of the company. Hey, if some customers are going to cuss us out because of the color of our skin, we just not going to do business with them. You're setting that integrity. As a business owner, if your systems are not in place to do that, it's harder to transition to doing that. If as an entrepreneur, you say to yourself, this company will give 10% to a charitable organization, you're setting that rule, and then you're following up to make sure the company that you own as an entrepreneur is doing that. As a business owner over here, you don't have to argue that. It is part of the rules that everyone will contribute to. Not that each individual person will contribute. The company is going to send 10% of their earnings to a charitable organization. It is a built-in rule.
Okay.
Plus, on top of that, most companies do it because of the fact that it is a generous write-off to do it.
Yeah. Okay. And with that said, though, going back to integrity, though, even though you don't want that employee to punch in at 9, you want them working at 9. And even though, you don't want to do business with somebody who cuts you out because of the color of your skin or whatever, you still have to handle those things with character. You still, there's never a reason that you should mistreat people.
Yes.
And so even that person that they're punching in at 9 and you want them working at 9, it's a way to have that conversation with them, and your goal should be to build them up. Now, if they don't receive it, then you still can let them go in a way, you know what I'm saying? You don't have to be mean and dogmatic with the person. You know what I mean? And so that's so key to me, because to me, the Bible is clear. God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. And there's many other places in the Bible that confirms God's love for people. And so I don't feel like we have a right to mistreat people. And so, I'm very big on that one. So even though you have a right to fire that person, even though you have a right to call that person in your office, even though you have a right not to do business with that person, you still set an example, though. You don't mistreat the person. You can let a person go without mistreating them, even though they may cuss you out. You know what I'm saying? And I just remember something Apostle Hilliard said when it comes to integrity. Now, this is going to be an ouch for some of us. All right. Y'all ready? And then we got to go ahead, James, and get ready to close. Then here it comes. Y'all ready? When it comes to integrity, the first measurement of your integrity, or the report card of your integrity, is your credit score.
Oh, that's funny.
Because you told them people you was gonna pay them, and you said you're gonna pay them on these days and on these times, and you didn't do it. So that's your report card right there.
Oh my goodness.
So we got to work on that. That's why it's important to call your bill collectors, and tell them, hey, I'm challenged right now. I ain't gonna be able to do it. How can we work it out or whatever? But that's your first report card of your integrity is your credit score. So okay, I'm gonna leave that one alone. You said we got two. And I'm not coming against no one. I know we all at different places and we all dealing with things. I don't have an 850 credit score yet, and so I know we all at different places. And so I'm not coming for you, but I am saying that's important, and that's where it starts. When it comes to you keeping your word and you doing what you said that you're gonna do, it starts there. You can't take that lightly, because That's what integrity is. I believe that one alone. Come on, you say we got 2 more slides?
No, after this is the last one. But
all right, let's hit that last one. Okay. We got 5 minutes, and then we'll be done.
Gotcha. Okay, so let me just touch on it. One, as a business owner, or not actually even as a business owner, as a regular person, I typically not yelling unless I'm having a good time. I think I might have yelled 1 or 2 times when I was actually mad. But when it comes to employees or contractors or different owners or tenants, I typically don't yell at anybody for almost any reason. I typically just laugh and be like, hey, I guess you're having a bad day, right? And we just keep it moving because the Bible says you want your goodness to reap coals upon their head. That even when they talking bad about you, they be like, well, you know, he always laughed a lot. I hate his laugh. You know, you want to make sure that the way you're presenting yourself, that even when they come to themselves, they still know that they did wrong.
Yeah. And you say typically, so that means sometimes you don't pass the test?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna leave that alone.
I mean, you want me to lie on here? I can lie. Hey guys, I always keep my cool.
Yeah. No, I am pretty good in that area. I have matured a lot now. You know, people that knew me early on, they knew that I was, you know, nothing to be played with. And so I have people now that'll take my kindness for a weakness. And I'll be thinking to myself, sometimes I laugh to myself, they really don't know who I am. You know, they don't know how much God has really worked on me, you know, and, you know, but the thing is that there's very few times that I have to raise my voice. I've learned to walk away a lot if I need to. I do learn to say what I need to say, you know. I'm not going to argue with a person. And so if I see that it ain't going to go nowhere, then, I'm going to be done. But, a lot of times it's in the best interest of them. They just don't know it, but I try to stay out of those situations, where, yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. I got a couple more years. I got a couple more years. I got my brother praying for me. That my mouth will always be straight. So,
all right.
I got my prayer words out there. I'm not. We all got our differences.
Listen, we got 3 minutes left. Did we cover everything tonight?
Yeah. The next step to all business owners is to become investors.
Okay.
So, we'll talk more about that next week. In this one, I want to conclude with Rise and Thrive.
All right.
Dr. Anthony D. Burns and myself, Brother James.
Well, listen, we did get a lot of questions tonight, and I hope that's doesn't mean that you just didn't understand. There is a progression, and I really believe that as you grasp, just nuggets of what we're saying here, it can really catapult you to another place. Especially when we talk about mindset. Mindset is huge.
Yeah.
To begin to think that way, and that's what I'm developing. I'm developing mindset. Dr. Bond said that was good information. Yeah, and so educating ourselves and going to that next level, and not just going from day to day to day to day to day, because a person in 6 figures, their mindset is different. Minister Millicent said she received a lot of clarity. And a 6-7 figure person, their mindset is different.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. They think differently. And the things that we're covering here are the things that shape your mind to be able to look at things differently and begin to make those little adjustments, as you're going along, ultimately where you want to go. So then where you are now, starting now with your record keeping, starting now with recognizing your patterns, starting now with creating the systems even for what you do, where at this point they may be less complicated because you don't have a lot of moving pieces, but it's only going to continue to grow, and so that's so important. Mr. Efra says facts, I think that means thumbs up or something.
Yeah, it does.
All right. Well, listen, we are out of time. It's been another great show of Financial Fridays, and I'm telling you, this has just been just a breath of fresh air. And there's a lot of things that we don't talk about, and even oftentimes, in the church we don't talk about it, and a lot of people stay away from it, and they just go from day to day, from week to week, doing the same things day in and day out, and and some people are complacent when it comes to where they are, and they don't really think about how much better it could be with just a little more effort. How much more it can reposition them with just a little more effort, and making those small adjustments.
Yes.
Small adjustments, and continually to make those small adjustments. Before you wasn't even hitting the target. Now at least you're on the paper.
Yeah.
You may not have gotten the one in the middle, the bullseye, but you halfway there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You get closer and closer, and so it's important that we begin to set targets to be better, the best version of ourselves. And when I look at people who are wealthy, and this is not a downplay for them, and I'm not saying, I'm not coming for anyone. I'm just saying that, a lot of wealthy people that I know is not necessarily smarter. It's just that they are diligent in making those small adjustments.
Yeah.
Now, I try to say it the best that I can. I'm not trying to come for nobody, and I'm not saying people ain't smart and all that kind of stuff. But I'm saying, a lot of times it's not about how smart you are. It's about being able to take those patterns, turning them into systems, and being able to, implement those systems in your life, and you'll begin to see increase on all different types of levels. And so I'm gonna leave it right there. All right.
But but what you said is the truth though.
Okay.
Like I can't reiterate what you said as perfectly as you said it, because when we start applying these things, it's across the board that you become better at these things, and that's the thing that people, that we eat, to include myself, once we understand these things, like once you understand cost management, because that's what we're doing, financial literacy. Once you understand cost management, like how much I can buy from this, that applies to everything. So now you're doing cost management about my groceries, but that also goes to my vehicle, that also goes to my job. If we have to go to a single vehicle, or can we afford two vehicles? Like this is all cost management. And when you take as an entrepreneur and says, what can I do with this, right? You're understanding that this one item, if multiplied, can do multiple functions. So now you're replicating what you're doing. And that's the benefit of what you're saying, because once you do one item, if I'm looking at the best cost per item, I can now look at the best cost per item for my home, my kids' school, their understanding, their relationships, their financial stability. Then you go back and say, well, how do my savings account look? How do the wheels on my car look? And you're doing this cost management across the board. But it's the little things. It's the little things. And that's what I want to point on to everybody else. It's not that everybody wakes up and they are very detailed about all these items. It's just that once you start doing the little things, your mind becomes awoke, or it wakens up to cost management across the board.
Yeah, that's important. Let me hit a couple of these, and then we're gonna close out for tonight. Sister Jackie said it was a wealth of information, and she said thank you. Dr. Bond says one bite at a time and celebrate the small wins, and that's so important that we learn to do that. I know that was a challenge for me, and it's still kind of a challenge. I'll be doing so much, and I'd be going from one thing to the next thing to the next thing. But I got to get to a place where I'm pausing and I'm celebrating the small wins. you know, and so that's a matter of getting the balance of my schedule. And so, listen, we want to give you this announcement. We have Beyond the Walls, which is our community development center of Jericho, our community development arm of Jericho, Church Without Walls, is called Beyond the Walls. And Beyond the Walls is going to be presenting a series of entrepreneurial workshops. And the first one is going to be February 3rd, and it's going to be at Jericho, 886 North 76th Street. And our guest is going to be Pastor Powell. He's going to be there, and it's going to be really something that you want to be a part of. You know, this series that we've laid out for the next 6 weeks or 6 months, and we're looking at the different areas of entrepreneurship and how to support that, and how to come alongside of the entrepreneurs, and get qualified people to help them in certain areas. And so you want to be a part of this entrepreneurship 101, transforming passion into profit. And that's going to be February 3rd at 9 to 3 at 886 North 76th Street. And the cost is $25. It will include a workbook and lunch. And so you want to be a part of that. And Dr. Bond said it serves as a motivation for the next level. Yeah.
Yes.
And so, we're doing all that, that we can to help entrepreneurs. And next month we'll be releasing the how to make 6 figures.
Yes.
And so we believe in that we're going to be able to release that on next month. We thought we were going to have it done by the end of the year, but somebody's schedule is too busy. But we're going to be releasing that. And then as we end our Financial Fridays on where we are, I think we're on day 74 in our 90-day challenge. And so at the end of our 90-day challenge, we're going to continue with the Financial Fridays, but we're going to switch to how to make 6 figures. And so we're going to begin to walk through how to make 6 figures. And so you want to take advantage of these entrepreneurs. $25. We got to get past money and get to a place of thinking about investment. And so if you never heard Pastor Powell's testimony of how he became the owner of all of those McDonald's, you really need to hear that. And I know he can help you. And so you want to be a part of that. And so make sure that you go on. I think I seen the link on there. Didn't I seen the link on there?
Yes.
All right. Go to dradburns.com/event and sign up for the Entrepreneur 101. That's sponsored by Beyond the Walls. And that's February 3rd, 9 to 3. So you want to make sure you're there. And I guarantee you, just the workbook and the lunch alone, the workbook is worth $25, and then the lunch, so, it's an investment. All right, we are out of time. Any closing remarks, James?
Man, I hope, wish, and pray that you take this information and you utilize it, because we need more. We need more people out there being business owners. Let's replicate what Jericho can do. I'm James Jones.
and our families need it. The Bible says that a good person leaves an inheritance for their children's children. And so our family needs it. Our family needs somebody to step up and break this cycle or this curse or whatever it is. And, when it comes to, poverty and mindset and finances and all the things that plague the average family, it's crazy that only 2% of the whole world holds 90% of the wealth, and so, we're going to tap into that. Let's break us off a piece. Well, listen, we are out of time. James gonna close us out in prayer, and I want y'all to know I'm having great challenges when we be praying with my hat on. I'm old school. You go take your head off. Dr. Bond says your greatness is limited only by the investments you make in yourself. And that's Grant Cardone says that. He says your greatness is limited only by the investment that you make in yourself. And Minister Elford says the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the just. Come on, James, close us out.
Father, we thank you for this evening, for this day, for all those who are online now and those in the future. We thank you for all that you do and for the time that we was able to communicate and fellowship one to another here. So as we leave this place, let the words that have been spoken, let the words that have been texted and written, let them permeate inside of our minds so we can achieve the next level. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Amen. Well, good night, you all. Listen, be intentional and live on purpose. I'm Dr. Burns, and we are out.
I'm Brother James. I'll see you then. All my grinders. Oh, yeah.